The air inside the negotiation chamber felt heavy and thick. Ambassador Elena Kovacs sat at the long, curved table, her hands folded in front of her. She had been sitting in this same chair for 3 years now. 3 long years of talking, listening, and trying to find common ground. But today felt different. Today, something inside her had finally broken. Around the massive circular chamber, representatives from 12 alien species sat in their designated sections. The Zurathi delegation occupied the highest platform, their tall, crystal-like bodies gleaming under the soft lights. Next to them were the Kelvorians, slug-like creatures who spoke through translators attached to their bodies. Further around sat the insectoid Vreeth, the gaseous Lumari contained in their environmental suits, and 8 other species who made up the Galactic Council. The station itself, Concordia Prime, floated in neutral space between several star systems. It had been built thousands of years ago as a place where different species could meet and talk without fighting. The humans had been invited here after their first contact with the Council 7 years earlier. At first, Elena had been excited. Humanity was joining a galactic community. They would learn from older, wiser species. They would take their place among the stars. But that dream had died slowly over these 3 years. The Zurathi representative, whose name translated roughly to High Speaker Zath, was talking again. His voice came through the translation device as cold and sharp. As we have explained numerous times, the human species requires guidance. Your development has been chaotic and violent. You lack the wisdom that comes with age. Elena had heard this speech before. She had heard it 100 times in 100 different ways. The terms are generous, Zath continued. We offer you membership in the Council. We offer you protection, access to our trade networks, and the collective knowledge of civilizations far older than yours. All we ask is that you accept reasonable limitations. Reasonable limitations. Elena almost laughed. She looked down at the datapad in front of her, reviewing the list one more time. Humanity would be restricted to their home solar system. No colonies beyond that without Council approval. Any new colony would require a Council overseer to live there and make sure humans followed the rules. Humans would have to undergo genetic modification to reduce what the Council called aggressive tendencies. Human governments would have to allow Council representatives to sit in on all major decisions. Human military forces would be limited to a small defense fleet. Human technology development would be monitored and controlled. The list went on and on. We understand that younger species often struggle with discipline, Zath said. His tone was the same one someone might use with a small child. But this is for your own good, and for the good of the galaxy. Elena felt her jaw tighten. Beside her, General Marcus Webb sat perfectly still, but she could see the anger in his eyes. On her other side, Dr. Sarah Chen, the scientific advisor, was gripping her stylus so hard her knuckles had turned white. Perhaps we should take another recess, suggested the Litharian ambassador. The Litharians looked almost human except for their silver skin and large eyes. They had been the friendliest of the Council species, but even they supported these restrictions. Give the humans more time to consider, more time. They had been given plenty of time. 3 years of recesses and discussions and private meetings. 3 years of the Council explaining over and over why humans could not be trusted with full freedom. No, Elena said quietly. The chamber went silent. Every translator device, every communication system, every set of alien eyes turned toward her. No more recesses, Elena continued. She stood up slowly, pushing her chair back. The sound echoed in the quiet room. No more discussions. No more time to consider. Zath's crystalline face somehow managed to look condescending. Ambassador Kovacs, we understand this is difficult for you to accept. Your species is young. You do not yet understand how the galaxy works. I understand perfectly, Elena said. Her voice was calm, but it carried across the chamber. I understand that you see humans as dangerous children who need to be controlled. I understand that you want us to change our very biology to make us more comfortable for you. I understand that you want to put us in a cage and tell us it is for our own protection. That is not, Zath began. I am not finished, Elena interrupted. A human interrupting a council member was considered extremely rude. She did not care anymore. For 3 years we have listened to you. We have tried to understand your concerns. We have offered compromises. We agreed to share our military technology data. We agreed to joint scientific programs. We agreed to limits on our expansion rate, but nothing we offer is ever enough. She looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes or sensory organs of each delegation. You call us violent, but the Kelvorians fought a war that destroyed 3 planets just 2 centuries ago. You call us aggressive, but the Vreeth maintain the largest military fleet in the galaxy. You call us young and foolish, but humanity went from first flight to faster than light travel, in less time than any species in Council history. Your rapid development is precisely why you need guidance, Zath said sharply. You move too fast. You take too many risks. You do not think about consequences. We think about consequences all the time, Elena shot back. That is why we are ending these negotiations. The chamber erupted. Alien voices mixed together in a confusion of sounds. The translation devices struggled to keep up. Elena heard words like unacceptable and foolish and typical human arrogance. She waited for the noise to die down. General Webb and Dr. Chen stood up beside her. The other human delegates at the table also rose from their seats. They had discussed this moment in private, late at night in their quarters. They had known it might come to this. The human delegation formally withdraws from these negotiations, Elena announced. We thank the Council for their time, but we cannot accept terms that would make us second-class citizens in our own galaxy. You cannot simply leave, Zath said. His voice was no longer condescending. It was angry. No species refuses Council membership. It is not done. We are doing it, Elena said simply. She picked up her data pad and tucked it under her arm. Humanity will find its own way. We will build our own future. If the Council wishes to establish normal diplomatic relations with us as equals, we will be happy to talk. But we will not be ruled. We will not be restricted, and we will not be treated like children who cannot be trusted. She turned toward the exit. The other human delegates followed her. Their footsteps rang out in the silent chamber. This is a mistake, Zath called after them. You do not understand what you are giving up. The galaxy is dangerous. You need our protection. Elena paused at the doorway. She looked back over her shoulder. Humanity has faced dangers before, she said. We have survived ice ages and plagues and wars. We have climbed up from caves to reach the stars. We did not do it by accepting someone else's chains, no matter how comfortable they promised those chains would be. She walked through the door. The rest of the human delegation followed. Behind them, the Galactic Council sat in stunned silence. For the first time in recorded history, a species had rejected them. The implications would shake the galaxy to its foundation. But at that moment, walking through the corridors of Concordia Prime toward their shuttle, Elena felt something she had not felt in 3 years. She felt free. The emergency council session began less than an hour after the humans left. High Speaker Zath stood at the center of the chamber, his crystalline body reflecting the lights in sharp angles. Around him, the other council members were talking over each other, their voices creating a chaos of sound that the translation system struggled to process. Order! Zath's voice cut through the noise like a blade. We must have order. The chamber slowly quieted. The representatives settled back into their positions, but the air still buzzed with tension and confusion. The humans have made their choice, Zath said. A foolish choice, but their choice nonetheless. We must now decide how to respond. They will return, said the Kelvorian representative, Ambassador Thules. His slug-like body rippled as he spoke through his translator. They are simply posturing, making a show of independence before they accept our terms. Younger species often do this. Several other representatives made sounds of agreement. The Galactic Council had existed for over 50,000 years. In that time, hundreds of species had joined. Some had hesitated at first, yes. Some had needed additional convincing. But none had ever truly walked away. I am not certain, said the Litherian ambassador, a female named Ciara. Her silver skin seemed to glow in the light. The humans are different from other species we have encountered. Their history is filled with examples of them choosing freedom over safety. Their history is filled with violence and chaos, Zath countered, which is exactly why they need our guidance. They are like children playing with weapons they do not understand. Perhaps we were too harsh, Ciara suggested carefully. Perhaps we could offer modified terms. No. Zath's response was immediate and sharp. We cannot show weakness. If we compromise with the humans, every other species will demand the same treatment. The order we have built over millennia will crumble. The insectoid Vreeth representative clicked his mandibles together. a sound that the translators interpreted as thoughtful consideration. What if they do not return? What if they truly intend to go their own way? Then they will fail, Zath said with confidence. They are alone. One small species with limited resources and even more limited experience. They need us far more than we need them. But even as Zath spoke those words, reports were already coming in that made some council members less certain. Over the next few weeks, intelligence officers brought increasingly disturbing information to the council. Human colony ships were launching from Earth and Mars at a rate that shocked even the most pessimistic analysts. Not just a few ships. Dozens of them, hundreds, all heading in different directions, spreading out into unclaimed space. They are expanding faster than any species in recorded history, reported the Council's military advisor, a Vreeth general named Krathix. At this rate, they will establish more colonies in 1 year than most species establish in 10. Let them spread themselves thin, Zath said dismissively. They will overextend and collapse. This is what happens when youth acts without wisdom. But the reports kept coming. Human trading ships were making contact with fringe species, the ones the Council considered too primitive or too troublesome to bother with, species who lived on the edges of known space, who barely survived on marginal worlds, who had been ignored by the great powers of the galaxy. The humans were not ignoring them. They were trading with them, sharing technology with them, making deals and alliances outside the Council's control. This is unacceptable, Zath declared in another emergency session. The humans are destabilizing the established order. They are giving advanced technology to species who are not ready for it. By whose definition of ready? Ciara asked quietly. The question hung in the air. By the Council's definition, the humans themselves were not ready for independence. Yet here they were, launching colonies and making alliances and doing exactly what the Council had said they could not do. The military reports were even more concerning. Human shipyards were working at full capacity. New warships were being built at an alarming pace. The designs were strange, incorporating ideas that seemed to break conventional military doctrine. Smaller ships, faster ships, ships that could operate independently rather than in the large coordinated fleets that the Council preferred. They are preparing for war, Krathix said, studying the tactical displays. But their strategy makes no sense. These ships cannot stand against our battle cruisers. Perhaps they do not intend to fight us directly, suggested a Lumari representative, their gaseous forms swirling inside their containment suit. Perhaps they are planning something else. 3 months after the humans walked out, the Council made their decision. They would implement a quarantine of human space. Council fleets would position themselves at every major route leading into human territory. No ships would be allowed in or out without Council approval. It was meant as a show of force, a demonstration that the Council still controlled the galaxy. The vote was not unanimous. Ciara and several other representatives argued against it, but Zath and his supporters had the majority. They believed the humans would see the fleets, understand their situation was hopeless, and return to negotiations. This time they would be more willing to accept the Council's terms. The orders went out. Council battle fleets moved into position around human space. Massive ships hundreds of meters long equipped with weapons that could destroy cities. Enough firepower to crush any resistance. The commanders were told to be visible, to make sure the humans understood what they were facing. They will break within days, Zath predicted confidently. No species can withstand this kind of pressure, but the humans did not break. They did not even slow down. Colony ships continued to launch, often slipping past the Council blockade using routes that should not have existed. Human traders continued to visit fringe worlds, somehow finding paths through space that the Council's navigation system said were impossible. When a Council fleet tried to intercept a group of human colony ships, something unexpected happened. The humans did not surrender. They did not turn back. Instead, they scattered in different directions, each ship taking a different path. The Council ships tried to follow, but the humans were faster and more maneuverable. By the time the Council fleet regrouped, the human ships were gone, having jumped to faster-than-light speed using calculations that seemed incredibly reckless. They jumped from inside a gravity well, Krathix said, reviewing the data with disbelief. That should have torn their ships apart. The risk factors are unacceptable, and yet their ships survived, Ciara noted. Perhaps they understand those risks better than we think. The incident was reported to the Council. Zath insisted it was just luck. But when it happened again, and then again, it became clear this was not luck. This was strategy. The humans were using tactics that the Council had never considered because the Council valued safety and certainty above all else. 6 months after the walkout, Ambassador Thules requested another emergency session. His large eyes were trembling, a sign of distress in his species. "We have a situation," he announced. "The agricultural world of Theta Virtus has requested human assistance. They are suffering from crop failures and their supplies are running low. Tell them to apply for Council aid through proper channels," Zath said. They did. 3 months ago. The application is still being processed by the Agricultural Committee. There was an uncomfortable silence in the chamber. The Council had procedures for everything. Those procedures were thorough and careful. They were also slow. "The humans have already sent aid," Thules continued. 3 cargo ships full of food and agricultural equipment. They arrived 2 days ago. The Verdes government is calling the humans their saviors. Zath's crystalline body seemed to darken. "This is propaganda. The humans are trying to make us look bad." "They do not need to try," Ciara said softly. "We are doing that ourselves." The cracks in the Council's unity were starting to show. Some members were beginning to question whether the hardline approach was working. The quarantine was supposed to bring the humans to their knees. Instead, humanity seemed to be thriving. And worse, they were making the Council look foolish. In his private chambers, Zath stood alone, looking at star maps. Red markers showed human colonies. 6 months ago, there had been 2. Now there were over 30 and more launching every day. Blue markers showed species that had made contact with humanity. The blue markers were spreading like a disease. For the first time in his long life, High Speaker Zath felt something he had not experienced before. He felt doubt. The humans were supposed to fail without the Council's guidance. They were supposed to realize they needed help, but they were not failing. Against all logic and all predictions, humanity was succeeding. And the great Galactic Council, which had ruled for 50,000 years, was starting to look like it had made a terrible mistake. Captain Marcus Chen stood on the bridge of the TCS Defiance, watching the stars stream past on the main display. 6 months ago, this ship had not existed. Now it was one of humanity's fastest and most advanced vessels, patrolling the borders of what people were starting to call the Terran Coalition. "Contact on sensors," reported Lieutenant Hayes from the navigation station. "Council battlecruiser, Kelvorian design. They are moving to intercept the colony convoy." Marcus leaned forward in his chair. "How many ships in the convoy?" 12 colony ships, 4 freighters, 2 escort frigates." "And how many Council ships?" "Just the 1 battlecruiser, sir." "But it is big. Probably 5 times our mass." Marcus smiled slightly. The Council still thought in terms of size and firepower. They built massive ships that could dominate any direct fight. But they were slow and predictable. The Defiance was different. Smaller, faster, and crewed by people who had grown up watching their ancestors fight against larger enemies and win. "Take us to intercept. Full speed." The Defiance was not designed to fight a battlecruiser head-on. That would be suicide. But it was not designed to fight fair either. As they approached the Council ship, Marcus studied the tactical display. The Kelvorian captain was moving exactly as expected, positioning his ship between the convoy and their destination. It was a classic blocking maneuver. Very predictable, very safe, very exploitable. "Open a channel," Marcus ordered. The Kelvorian captain appeared on the screen, his large eyes blinking slowly. "Human vessel, you are ordered to turn back. These colony ships are in violation of Council space regulations. This is Captain Marcus Chen of the Terran Coalition ship Defiance. We are in unclaimed space, Captain. The Council has no authority here. All space falls under Council jurisdiction until proven otherwise. These worlds have not been cleared for colonization." Marcus kept his voice calm and professional. "We have surveyed these worlds. They are suitable for habitation and are not claimed by any recognized government. Under the laws of space that humanity recognizes, we have every right to establish colonies here. The Council does not recognize your laws, and we do not recognize yours. It seems we have a problem." The Kelvorian captain's expression was hard to read, but his body language suggested frustration. "If you do not comply, I am authorized to use force." "You can try," Marcus said simply. "But before you do, I suggest you look at your tactical display. We are not alone." The Kelvorian captain glanced to his side, clearly checking his sensors. His eyes widened slightly. 3 more human ships had appeared on his screens, having approached from different angles while he was focused on the Defiance. Not large ships, but fast ones, and they were positioned perfectly to hit his vessel from multiple directions if he opened fire. "This is a violation of military protocol," the Kelvorian said. "You are using deceptive tactics." "We are using effective tactics," Marcus corrected. "Now you have a choice. You can fire on us and start a fight you might not win, or you can let these civilians pass and report back to your superiors that humanity is not going to be intimidated." For a long moment, the Kelvorian captain said nothing. Marcus could almost see the calculations running through his head. His ship was powerful, yes, but he was facing 4 smaller ships with unknown capabilities, crewed by a species that had a reputation for unpredictability. If he lost this fight, it would be a massive embarrassment to the Council. If he won but took heavy damage, it would show that humans were a real military threat. "This is not over," the Kelvorian finally said. "We never thought it was," Marcus replied. The Council ship slowly turned away, moving back toward the border. The human convoy continued on their way, heading toward 3 new worlds that would soon host human colonies. Marcus watched them go, feeling a mix of relief and pride. "Sir," Lieutenant Hayes said quietly, "that was risky. If he had called our bluff—" "It was not entirely a bluff," Marcus interrupted, "and he could not afford to find out. That is the difference between us and them. They always calculate the safe move. We calculate the winning move." Down on Earth, the changes were even more dramatic. The United Nations headquarters in New York had been transformed into the central hub of the Terran Coalition. Representatives from dozens of species now walked the halls, species that the Galactic Council had ignored or dismissed. Ambassador Elena Kovacs sat in her office, reviewing reports from the colonies. The numbers were staggering. In 6 months, humanity had established more off-world settlements than they had in the previous 30 years. Millions of people were leaving Earth, Mars, and the other inner worlds, seeking new homes among the stars. But it was not just humans. Several alien species had also joined the migration. The Theta Virtus, grateful for human aid during their famine, had sent diplomats to Earth. They wanted to join the Terran Coalition. So did the Raxians, a reptilian species from a resource-poor world who saw opportunity in humanity's rapid expansion. And the Talani, bird-like creatures who had been exploited by the Council for generations, had practically begged to become part of the new alliance. "We are building something unprecedented," said Dr. Sarah Chen, entering Elena's office with a stack of data pads. "A coalition based on mutual benefit, rather than hierarchical control. The Council has never seen anything like it. They still think we will fail," Elena said. "They think we are building a house of cards that will collapse." "Maybe we are," Sarah admitted. "But at least it is our house of cards. We are doing this our way." The door opened again and General Marcus Webb walked in, still in his military uniform. He had been coordinating the defense of human space, a job that got more complicated every day. "We have a situation," Marcus said, his face serious. 3 more fringe species have requested protection. They are being threatened by Council-aligned governments who do not like that they are trading with us. "Can we protect them?" Elena asked. "If we spread our forces thin enough, maybe. But it is risky." "Everything we are doing is risky," Elena said with a slight smile. "We left guaranteed safety for uncertain freedom. Risk comes with the territory." The 3 of them looked at a holographic display showing the current political map of the galaxy. 6 months ago, there had been 2 clear divisions, the Council Core and the ungoverned fringe. Now there was a third area growing rapidly, human space and the territories of their allies. It was still small compared to the Council, but it was growing fast. "They are going to have to acknowledge us eventually," Sarah said. "They cannot pretend we do not exist forever." "They will acknowledge us when they are ready to deal with us as equals," Elena replied. "Until then, we keep building. We keep growing. We show the galaxy that there is another way." Out in the shipyards orbiting Mars, new vessels were being constructed every day. Human engineers worked alongside Raxian metalworkers and Talani computer specialists. The designs being produced were unlike anything the galaxy had seen before. Ships that could operate independently or as part of a fleet. Vessels designed for exploration, trade, defense, and rapid response. The Council had built their empire on certainty and control. Every ship had its place. Every species had its role. Everything was planned and organized and safe. Humanity was building something different, something messier and more chaotic but also more adaptable. They took ideas from everyone who wanted to contribute. They tried things that might fail. They moved fast and fixed problems as they appeared rather than planning everything in advance. It should not have worked. By every measure the Council used, the Terran Coalition should have been a disaster. Too many different species with different goals. Too much rapid expansion. Too many risks taken, but it was working. Somehow, impossibly, it was working. In the halls of the Galactic Council, High Speaker Zath received reports of each new human success with growing anger. The quarantine had failed. The blockade had failed. Economic pressure had failed. Nothing they tried seemed to slow humanity down. "They are making us look foolish," one of his advisors said quietly. Zath did not respond. He knew it was true. For 50,000 years, the Council had maintained order through a combination of wisdom, power, and prestige. Species joined because the Council represented stability and safety, but now humanity was offering something different: freedom and opportunity, and more species were choosing freedom over safety. Ambassador Ciara of the Litherians walked through the quiet gardens on Concordia Prime, her silver skin glowing softly in the artificial light. This place had been designed as a peaceful retreat where Council members could think and reflect. Tonight she needed that peace more than ever. "I thought I might find you here." Ciara turned to see General Krathix, the insectoid Vreeth military advisor. His many legs clicked softly on the stone path as he approached. It was unusual for a Vreeth to seek out private conversation. They were typically direct and formal in all their dealings. "General," Ciara greeted him with a slight bow. "Are you also seeking quiet?" "I am seeking honesty," Krathix replied. His mandibles clicked together in what might have been frustration. "Something that seems in short supply lately." Ciara gestured to a bench and they both sat, an unlikely pair under the artificial stars. "You have doubts about our strategy with the humans," Ciara said. "It was not a question. I have studied their military tactics extensively," Krathix said. "They are impressive. Unconventional, but effective. They think in ways that my people can respect. The Vreeth value martial prowess above all else." "We value those who can adapt and survive," Krathix corrected. "The humans are doing both. They should have collapsed under our pressure. They should have been isolated and weak. Instead, they grow stronger every day. And this troubles you?" "It troubles me that we underestimated them. It troubles me that High Speaker Zath continues to underestimate them. It troubles me that the Council is making decisions based on pride rather than reality." Ciara was quiet for a moment. What Krathix was saying was dangerous. Questioning the Council's leadership could result in his removal from his position, possibly even sanctions against his entire species. "I share your concerns," Ciara said softly. "The Litherians have been studying human culture, their art, their music, their literature. Do you know what we have found? What? Complexity. Depth. A species that has thought deeply about questions of meaning and purpose. They are not the primitive warmongers that Zath claims they are." "But they are warriors," Krathix said. "Make no mistake about that." "They are many things," Ciara replied. "Warriors, yes, but also philosophers and artists and dreamers. They contain multitudes, as one of their poets once wrote. Perhaps that is what frightens Zath. They do not fit into the neat categories the Council prefers." Their conversation was interrupted by Ciara's communication device. She glanced at it and her expression changed. "What is it?" Krathix asked. "Another border world has requested to join the Terran Coalition. The Minari. They are asking for human protection against pirates that the Council has been unable to stop." Krathix's mandibles clicked rapidly. "How many does that make now?" 7 species have formally joined the coalition. At least 15 others are in negotiations. The humans are building an alliance right under our eyes. And Zath's response? More sanctions, more restrictions, more threats. Ciara stood up, her robes flowing around her. "It is not working, Krathix. Our strategy is failing and he refuses to see it. Then what do we do?" Ciara looked at the artificial stars above them. "I do not know yet, but something must change." Across the galaxy in the capital city of Theta Virtus, a very different conversation was taking place. Ambassador Elena Kovac sat across from the Virtus planetary governor, a thin alien with pale green skin and large, kind eyes. "Your people saved us. the governor said simply. When we were starving, when our crops were failing, the council told us to wait, to follow procedures, to have patience. But you came. You brought food and equipment and asked for nothing in return. We helped because it was the right thing to do, Elena replied. That is not how the galaxy usually works, the governor said with a sad smile. Usually help comes with strings attached, with demands and conditions. The council would have helped us eventually, but they would have expected us to be grateful forever, to owe them. We do not want you to owe us, Elena said. We want you to thrive. Strong, independent friends are better than weak, dependent subjects. The governor was quiet for a moment. Is it true what they say? That the council wanted to restrict your growth? To control your genetics? Yes, and you refused. We refused. That took courage. My people value courage. The governor leaned forward. We want to join your coalition formally. Not just as trading partners, but as full members. We want to help build what you are creating. Elena felt a warmth in her chest. Every species that joined made the coalition stronger, but it also brought new responsibilities. We would be honored to have the Verdes join us. But I must be honest, we are making powerful enemies. The council does not like what we are doing. There may be danger ahead. We understand, the governor said, but we have learned something from watching you. Safety that comes at the cost of freedom is not really safety at all. It is just a comfortable cage. News of Theta Verdes officially joining the Terran coalition spread quickly through the galaxy. It was one thing for marginal species on the fringe to ally with humanity, but Theta Verdes had been a council member world for over 1,000 years. Their departure was a major blow to council prestige. High Speaker Zath called yet another emergency session. His crystalline body seemed darker than usual, almost stormy. This is unacceptable, he declared. The humans are actively recruiting council member species. They are deliberately undermining our authority. Perhaps our authority needs to be questioned, Ciara said quietly. The chamber went silent. Several representatives turned to stare at her. What did you say? Zath's voice was dangerously calm. Ciara stood, her silver skin gleaming. I said perhaps our authority needs to be questioned. We have ruled this galaxy for 50,000 years. We have brought peace and order. But we have also become rigid. We have stopped listening. We treat younger species like children rather than partners. They are children compared to us, Zath said sharply. Are they? Ciara gestured to the display showing human territory. In 6 months, they have built a coalition of 12 species. They have established 43 colonies. They have created new trade routes and new alliances. They have accomplished more in half a year than some council species accomplish in a century. Through recklessness and chaos. Through innovation and adaptability, Ciara countered. Qualities we used to value back when our own species were young. Ambassador Thules the Kelvorian spoke up, his body rippling nervously. I must admit I am also troubled. My government has received multiple requests from our outer colonies. They want to know why we cannot respond to piracy as quickly as the humans do, why our ships are not as fast, why we cannot adapt to new situations as easily. Because we value safety, Zath said. Perhaps we value it too much, suggested another representative, a Lumari whose gaseous form swirled agitatedly in their containment suit. Perhaps we have become so afraid of risk that we have forgotten how to grow. The council chamber erupted in argument. For the first time in living memory, council members were openly disagreeing with each other. Some supported Zath's hardline approach. Others sided with Ciara's call for change. Still others were simply confused, uncertain what to think. In the chaos, General Krathix caught Ciara's eye. He made a small gesture with one of his legs. Later, the gesture said, we will talk later. That night, in a private meeting room far from the main chambers, a secret gathering took place. Ciara was there, along with Krathix and 5 other council members. They represented different species, different philosophies, but they shared one thing in common. They all believed the council's current path was wrong. What are we suggesting? Asked one of the members nervously. Are we talking about removing Zath from his position? Nothing so dramatic, Ciara said. At least not yet. But we need to open a back channel to the humans. We need to start real negotiations, not the one-sided demands that Zath prefers. If he finds out, another member began, then we deal with the consequences, Krathix interrupted. His mandibles clicked decisively. But we cannot continue on this path. The humans have proven they do not need us. Soon others will realize the same thing. The Council's power is based on species believing they need our protection and guidance. If that belief disappears, so does our relevance. I can make contact with Ambassador Kovac, Ciara said. Discreetly, I will propose informal talks. Nothing official, just a conversation between reasonable beings. The others nodded slowly, one by one. They were taking a huge risk. But the alternative was watching the Council tear itself apart through stubbornness and pride. Ambassador Elena Kovac received Ciara's private message 3 days later. She read it carefully, then read it again. The Litherian ambassador was proposing a secret meeting. No formal negotiations, no official positions, just a chance to talk honestly. Away from political pressures, Elena showed the message to General Webb and Dr. Chen. It could be a trap, Marcus said immediately. It could also be an opportunity, Sarah countered. If there are moderate voices in the Council, we should listen to them. Elena thought about it carefully. They had been so focused on resisting the Council that they had not considered what might happen if the Council itself began to change from within. Set up the meeting, Elena decided. But we do it carefully. Neutral location, security measures, and we go in with open minds but clear boundaries. The alert came at 300 hours station time. Captain Marcus Chen was pulled from sleep by the urgent tone of his communication device. He grabbed it immediately, his military training allowing him to go from asleep to fully alert in seconds. Chen here. Captain, we have a priority emergency transmission from Council space. Lieutenant Hayes sounded shaken. Sir, you need to see this. Marcus was on the bridge of the Defiance within minutes. The main display showed a message that had been broadcast across multiple channels, a clear sign of desperation. It was from General Krathix. This is General Krathix of the Galactic Council Defense Force. We are issuing an emergency call for assistance to all capable military forces. An extragalactic threat has breached the rim at coordinates 672 Mark 483. Council forces are engaging but are suffering heavy casualties. We request immediate aid. Marcus stared at the screen. Extragalactic threat. The words hung in the air like a death sentence. Get me Ambassador Kovac, he ordered, and start pulling up everything we have on those coordinates. Within an hour, humanity's leadership was in emergency session. Elena Kovac sat at the head of the table in the Coalition Command Center, her face grim. Around her were General Webb, Dr. Chen, and representatives from the other Coalition species. What do we know? Elena asked. Dr. Chen pulled up a holographic display. Not much. The Council has kept this classified for generations, but our intelligence suggests they have been monitoring something beyond the galactic rim for a very long time. They called them the Devourers. Cheerful name, General Webb muttered. According to the fragmentary data we have, they are a biological swarm. They consume everything in their path and use the materials to reproduce. The Council has maintained defense stations at the rim specifically to watch for them. And now they are here, Elena said quietly. Yes, and according to Krathix's message, the Council fleets are not doing well. They moved most of their ships to blockade us. Now they are out of position. The room was silent for a long moment. Then Ambassador Talrix of the Virtus spoke up. We must help them. Why? Asked a Raxian representative harshly. They tried to control us. They blockaded our space. They treated us like children. Why should we risk ourselves for them? Because it is the right thing to do, Elena said simply. And because if the Council falls, the Devourers will not stop there. They will keep coming. Eventually they will reach us. So we help the Council to save ourselves? The Raxian pressed. We help the Council because that is what we do, Elena replied. We help people who need it. Even if those people have been our enemies. Especially if those people have been our enemies. General Webb leaned forward. If we are going to do this, we need to do it fast. Every hour we debate is an hour the situation gets worse. Agreed, Elena said. She looked around the table. I need a vote. Do we commit coalition forces to aid the Council? One by one, the representatives voted. Some voted yes immediately. Others hesitated but eventually agreed. When the count was done, the decision was unanimous. Then we go, Elena said. General Webb, mobilize everything we have. Marcus, the Defiance, will lead the first wave. Yes, ma'am, both men responded. Elena stood up. And someone get me a channel to High Speaker Zath. It is time we had a conversation. The communication went through faster than expected. Zath appeared on the screen, And for the first time since Elena had met him, the Zarathi leader looked uncertain. His crystalline body seemed dimmer, less confident. Ambassador Kovac, Zath said. His voice lacked its usual condescension. High Speaker, we received General Krathix's emergency broadcast. I see. We are sending aid. Coalition forces are mobilizing as we speak. Captain Chen and the Defiance will arrive at the coordinates within 8 hours. Additional forces will follow. Zath was silent for a long moment. Why? It was such a simple question, but it contained so much weight. Why would humanity help? Why would they risk themselves for people who had tried to control them? Because it is the right thing to do, Elena said. But I have conditions. Of course you do, Zath said, and for the first time there was no bitterness in his voice. Just tired acceptance. When this is over, if we survive, the galaxy changes. No more hierarchies. No more elder species ruling over younger ones. A true council where every species has an equal voice and equal rights. Those are my terms, and if I refuse, then you will face the Devourers alone. And based on the reports we are seeing, you will lose. Zath looked at her for a long moment. Then slowly his crystalline body seemed to shift, becoming clearer, more transparent. It was a gesture of submission in his culture, one that no council member had ever shown to an outsider. Your terms are acceptable, he said quietly. Help us survive this, and I will support the changes you propose. Then we have an agreement, Elena said. Hold on, High Speaker. Help is coming. The Defiance dropped out of faster-than-light speed at the edge of the battle zone, and what Marcus saw made his blood run cold. Space was filled with ships, thousands of them. The Council's massive battlecruisers were there, firing their powerful weapons at a swarm of organic-looking vessels that seemed to flow like water through space. The Devourers did not use traditional ships. They were living things, grown rather than built. They moved in coordinated groups, overwhelming targets through sheer numbers. Even as Marcus watched, 3 Council vessels were swarmed and torn apart. My God, Lieutenant Hayes whispered. Analysis, Marcus ordered, forcing his voice to stay calm. The Devourers are using hit-and-run tactics against the Council fleet. The Council ships are powerful but slow. They cannot respond fast enough, Marcus nodded. He had been studying Council military tactics for months. He knew their weaknesses. They fought in formation, relying on coordinated firepower. It was effective against conventional enemies. But these were not conventional enemies. Contact all coalition ships, Marcus ordered. Tell them to forget standard engagement protocols. We are going to fight dirty. The Defiance accelerated into the battle, followed by a dozen other coalition vessels. They were smaller than the Council ships, but they were fast, and their crews had trained for unconventional warfare. Marcus spotted a group of Devourers swarming a Kelvorian cruiser. Target that group. All weapons, rapid fire. Do not stay still. Keep moving. The Defiance opened fire with everything it had, tearing into the Devourers' swarm. But instead of standing and fighting like a Council ship would, the Defiance immediately changed course, rolling away before the Devourers could respond. Another coalition ship came in from a different angle, hit the same group, then also broke away. It was chaos. It was messy, but it was working. On the bridge of the Council flagship, Admiral Veloth watched in amazement as the human ships darted through the battle. They did not follow any doctrine he recognized. They split up, attacked from unexpected angles, and retreated before they could be pinned down. They fight like insects, he said. General Krathix, who was coordinating defense from the same bridge, clicked his mandibles in what might have been amusement. They fight like survivors, and they are teaching us how it is done. A communication came through from Captain Chen. Admiral Veloth, I need you to do something that is going to feel very wrong. What? Veloth asked cautiously. Break formation. Split your fleet into smaller groups. The Devourers are targeting your massive formations because they are easy to surround. If you spread out, they will have to spread out too. That goes against every principle of fleet combat. Yes, it does. Do it anyway, Veloth looked at Krathix. The Vreeth general nodded slowly. The human is right. Our tactics are not working. We must adapt or die. Veloth took a deep breath. Then he gave the order. The Council fleet broke apart, individual ships or small groups spreading across the battle space. It felt terrifying. It felt vulnerable, but it worked. The Devourers, expecting the Council ships to maintain formation, suddenly found themselves facing targets from multiple directions. The coalition ships coordinated with the Council vessels, using hit-and-run tactics to draw the Devourers into traps where the Council's heavy weapons could destroy them. The battle raged for 6 hours. More Coalition ships arrived, bringing Virtus support vessels and Raxian fighters. The different species worked together, each contributing their unique strengths. The Council brought firepower, the humans brought tactics. The Vreeth brought discipline, the Verdes brought coordination. Slowly, impossibly, they began to push the Devourers back. When the last Devourer vessel was destroyed or driven back beyond the rim, a strange silence fell over the combined fleet. Ships that had been enemies just days ago now floated side by side, battered but victorious. Marcus sat in his captain's chair, exhausted. Damage report. Heavy damage to the port side. Casualties in engineering. But we are intact, sir. Good. Send a message to all Coalition ships. Well done. On the Council flagship, Admiral Veloth stood staring at the tactical display. High Speaker Zath appeared on his communication screen. Report, Zath said. The Devourers have been repelled, Veloth said slowly, thanks to the humans and their allies. I see. High Speaker, they fought brilliantly. They used tactics we would never have considered. And they came even though we have been their enemies. I know. We were wrong about them, Veloth said. It cost him to admit it, but it was the truth.